You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel.
I am Clint. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline, your sportsbook experts. Also, Libations brought to you by Whistle Pig on my end. Not an official sponsor, but just letting you know who it is.
Got the Willett Rye. The Willett Family Estate Rye.
You love to see it. Mine's the 10-year rye.
About to do a whiskey rankings. We got to do a whole whiskey ranking show.
We're gonna get John Tweet Sports back on here. We're gonna get M Dubs back on here, and we're gonna do this thing proper. Let's run it back. Hey, if you're new to the podcast, glad you're here. If you're on YouTube, glad you're here with us. We are not anything other than fans. We're not gurus or insiders. We are fans first and foremost. So we're going to talk like fans. And if you come at us for not talking like fans, like talking like gurus or insiders, we're going to take it as a compliment because we don't want to be gurus or insiders. This just in, there's no such thing. It's like somebody calling you a leprechaun. You're like, well, that's not a thing. I don't know how to help you with that. So if you're on podcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. Thanks for following us over there. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a review. Let us know what you think about our takes. And today, Daniel, we're talking about the NFL draft.
We are talking about the NFL draft. And if I may say, you said that with the hint of someone who may have been called a leprechaun before? Is that something that is that real life?
I've never been called a leprechaun once in my life.
Okay, that's good. That
it
just sounded a little bit too familiar.
What an awesome insult, you little leprechaun!
We are talking about the 2022 NFL Draft today. It is today's the last day of February. March is upon us, so that means the NCAA tournament, obviously. But then the month of April rolls around. At the end of April is the NFL draft. And so never too early. And Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network, draft expert over there, puts out his rankings, as people are prone to do, puts out his rankings of NFL prospects. And as you would expect, many Georgia Bulldogs on the list. And as you would expect, many Georgia Bulldogs are high on the list. Now, it's only the top 50 prospects in the NFL draft. So this is first and second round only type of talent because we're only talking about the top 50 picks. And so this is the upper echelon, the elite of the talent. And let's maybe just start at the top, Clint. Does that seem like a reasonable place to start?
Sounds great.
Coming in at number 7 on Daniel Jeremiah's list, 7th overall prospect in this year's NFL draft. He's got Mr. Nakobe Dean. Not a surprise to anyone. Nakobe Dean will be the first Georgia Bulldog drafted, as he should be. An elite talent and has been such for years. Could have been drafted in the first round probably 2 years ago had he been eligible for such a thing. So what are your thoughts on Nakobe Dean at 7? Is that around where you see him going? Could he sneak higher than that?
I don't think he's going to sneak higher than that. To be a top 5 pick, I think you have to either be edge or quarterback or tackle. Those are the top 5, or a generational talent, which I think Nakobe Dean borders on a great deal. But 7 is pretty high. Top 10 pick for an inside linebacker.
Sure.
I think we kind of assume best player on Georgia, national championship winning team. We kind of go off on a limb and say, yeah, number 7 sounds good. But y'all just realize number 7 is top 10 picks are your team's maybe not even most glaring need. You're going to go for a guy who is just absolutely beyond talented. And that is what Nakobe Dean is. You can all take your short arms and short height stuff and just shove it. Like, I'm tired of hearing about it, draft people. I really am.
Ridiculous.
It's absurd. You know who doesn't give 2 craps about hand size and height and arm length and all that? Bill Belichick don't give two craps about it. Super Bowl winning coaches don't give two craps about it. They watch the game film and they say the highest level, which is the SEC, he dominated and stormed all over the place. Sure, I'll take that guy. And that's exactly what Nakobe Dean did.
You know, you like player comps, Clint. We do like to do the player comps.
We do
on the podcast. When we talk about the recruits, we like to give a good player comp. Daniel Jeremiah gives a bit of a player comp here for Nakobe Dean. You ready to hear it?
I am.
It's Jonathan Vilma is the player comp. It's pretty high praise. It's pretty high praise.
If you don't know who that
end player comp,
go look at film. That boy ran all over the field like a predator, which is exactly what Nakobe Dean. Coming in next on the list, number 15, the next highest Georgia Bulldog, is Mr. Trayvon Walker. Daniel.
If you didn't see this coming, if you're surprised that Trayvon's the second highest Georgia Bulldog on this list, then you've just not been paying much attention. Because was Trayvon the second most productive player on our defense this year? No, he was not. Was Trayvon the second most important player on our defense this year? Not even close.
Nope.
But is he going to be the second Georgia Bulldog taken in this NFL draft? There's almost no way for him not to be, because Trayvon has a skill set that you just can't teach, one, and a skill set that the NFL deeply craves, and that is size plus speed married right together. That is who Trayvon Walker is.
That's exactly who it is. 15, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked. If you're talking about a guy who's going to go in the top, I'm not going to be shocked. Two things. One, goes inside the top 10, and two, somebody trades up to get this guy before somebody else at 15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
This is the guy that NFL GMs are salivating over 100%. We're going to come back. We got a few more player comps to go through, NFL draft comps to go to, where their projections are according to David Jeremiah. And by the way, one person on this list should be here, and David Jeremiah should be fired promptly tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for not including him on this list. But first, I want to show about BetOnline. BetOnline is your sports book experts. They're the official sports books of Locked On Podcast. Hey, thanks, BetOnline, for doing that for us.
We're them.
That's us. We're them. We're Locked On.
Yeah.
And Locked On Bulldogs. We love BetOnline because they give you all the bets you can think of. Props, futures, over-unders, season totals, game lines, everything. BetOnline.net, your sportsbook experts. Don't be foolish and do somebody else's book locally. They are secure, they are fast, they are prompt. They give you all the lines that you need. BetOnline.net, your sportsbook experts. Head over there right now. March Madness is upon us. Get on a pool. Get on betting the games individually. Hit every single game. It's fun. Do a little sprinkle all around. Find your Cinderella that you think is going to go ahead and run the table. Get them before the tournament. Daniel, you got a favorite before the tourney starts?
We're doing a whole March Madness preview show when the brackets come out, and so
I don't want to give away.
Okay, I don't want to give away too many of my thoughts, but it's going to be such a deep field. It's going to be such a great tournament this year.
BetOnline,
such a great tournament.
BetOnline.net, your sportsbook experts. All right, the list continues.
Let's jump back in to the list. Yeah, don't have to wait long, because the 15th prospect was Trayvon Walker. The 16th overall prospect, according to Daniel Jeremiah, is Mr. Jordan Davis. Now, some of you have been waiting for Jordan Davis's name to be called. I actually think this is high. This is as high as I've seen Jordan Davis on one of these things. Daniel Jeremiah is quite high on Jordan Davis compared to most of the people I see.
16's high. I keep on hearing him mocked to go to the Chargers. The Chargers run a defense in which Jordan Davis could accelerate in and do very well. 16's high, guys. I know Jordan Davis was a monster. He is a monster. He's Thanos, but not purple. But his one knock that he's going to get, again, his one knock. The NFL has changed. The defenses are different. You have to have Aaron Donald, who has like 2% body fat on the field, running around playing the D tackle position. Jordan Davis is not that right now in his career. I don't think will be, but is an imposing force nonetheless. 16's pretty dang high. Do you see him? Where do you think the floor is for Jordan Davis?
I mean, I think the floor for Jordan Davis is a dominant 2-down player for 10 years. That's the floor.
That sounds like a great 16 pick to me.
The ceiling for Jordan Davis is he drops 20 pounds and really puts in the time with the cardio and is able to become more of a 3-down player. I just can't listen to this like NFL criticizing like the SEC championship game. Alabama runs tempo. They get Jordan Davis gassed. Did all of that happen? Yes, it did. It did happen. Georgia's defense looked like trash in that game. But that's not the NFL. I don't know if these NFL scouts have ever watched the NFL before, but people don't do that in the NFL. They snap the ball with 5 seconds to go on the play clock every play. So just sub him out if you need him to be subbed out. I don't know. Like to me, there's not too much risk. Moving down the list, you move on to Quay Walker, who checks in at 31, right at that end of the first round spot. And this was another surprise to me, Clint. I don't know that I have Quay Walker this high in my mind. Daniel Jeremiah is effectively telling us that he would not be at all surprised if Quay Walker was the Georgia Bulldogs' 4th number 1 draft pick in this draft. That's high praise.
All I got to say, when I see numbers like this, when I see Trayvon, Jordan Davis, Quay all in the first round, I think to myself, dear Lord, what is Jalen Carter going to be mocked at? Like, that, you just listed 4 guys in there. Like, what is Jalen Carter going to go? 1, 2, 3?
Yep.
Like, he's unbelievable. Quay Walker, I think, has upside for days. Now, if you're talking floor and ceiling on him, I think the floor is actually a little bit lower than the Jordan Davis comparison you gave. I think Quay could be a situational pass rusher that comes in as his floor. As his ceiling, however, ooh, you watch out, because this kid might absolutely blow the league up on the other side, Daniel, on his ceiling.
He might. I don't anticipate it happening. I'm sure I'll get comments telling me that I'm an idiot because I do anticipate it happening. But I'm literally saying I don't anticipate it happening. But there's a chance that Quay Walker has the best career of any inside linebacker taken in this draft, including the other one for the University of Georgia that we've already mentioned, who's going at 7 overall. There's a chance. I'm not saying it's particularly high, but I can see a scenario where that is what happens. Now, we move on to 38 overall, and this is the one I've been waiting to get to, because you and I have been high on this guy forever. If you've been listening to the pod, if you've been watching the show, then you know this already. But Daniel Jeremiah got Devonte Wyatt at 38. Calls him a freak, says that he might be the twitchiest player in the draft, says that when the combine rolls around, says this is the guy you need to watch, because that stock, it going up. Because if you don't know already, Devonte Wyatt can do things at his size for his frame that no one else can do. So when you start jumping and running and doing cones and shuttles and sprints, and you start doing all that stuff and comparing him to other interior defensive linemen, those comparisons are not going to be favorable for the other interior defensive linemen. Devonte Wyatt's stock is going to shoot up. And listen, there are teams in the NFL that put so much stock in that combine, in those numbers, in that physicality, those physical traits.
Yep.
But somebody's going to take a flyer on Devonte Wyatt, and I'm just telling you right now, come by the end of April, if I can get a line on BetOnline for Devonte Wyatt going in the first round, Clint, why would I not just sprinkle a little bit on there? You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely know what you're saying. Devonte Wyatt will be a dominant defensive lineman for 10 years on a Super Bowl winning team. Mark it.
Oh,
Is Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb the best running back in the league?
He is.
He is. Okay. So you all can keep every other draft choice that you had before him. I don't care. He's the best running back in the league. And I don't know why you're not feeding him the ball 25 times a game. Baker Mayfield is awful. But I digress.
Correct on all counts.
Okay, thank you. Devonte Wyatt is going to absolutely wreck fools for the next decade in the NFL. We love him. Whatever team drafts him, just know that I'll be tuning in to watch him play. That's the type of player that he is for me.
Oh, yeah.
Out of Georgia. I don't care. He could go to literally any team in the NFL. I'll tune in when they're watching. I'll make my way to a bar that is broadcasting their game if it's not local to make sure I watch him.
Yep.
Daniel.
Absolutely correct. And then there's only one other player from the Georgia Bulldogs in the top 50 of Daniel Jeremiah's board. Now that's what? That's 7 overall. Is that what is that what we're up to?
We
got top
6,
50.
We got 6 total. Nakobe, Trayvon, Davis, Quay, Devonte, and then the 6th here.
And then Lewis Cine comes in at number 50 overall, which there's some omissions. We're going to get to those in the third segment. But first, Lewis Cine at 50. Now we know that he's got athleticism. We know he's got physicality. I'm not sure. Does he have the coverage skills to be drafted this highly in the NFL? I'm not saying that he's poor in coverage. No. I'm just saying second round pick at safety, that unless you're going to try to bulk him up and bring him down into the box, then I love that. But
what was that cat, Michigan, Jabril Peppers, who got drafted, I think, by the Browns? I think Lewis Cine projects more like that in the league than he does a Weddle or anything else. We love Lewis. He did a great job. He's a damn good dog. We love him to death. 50's high. 50's high.
50 seems high.
So
especially when you take into account some of the names we're about to talk about that did not make this list. So let's get to that.
One of them is beyond inferior. Again, David Jeremiah should be fired tomorrow at 7 a.m. for doing this.
Wow.
Okay. But before we do that.
First of all, let's tell you about Built Bar. Built Bar should never be fired. It should be hired into your pre-workout, post-workout protein bar routine. Built Bar is the tastiest protein bar on planet Earth. They come in a wide variety of delicious flavors, all of which can be found at BuiltBar.com, and all of which have been eaten by Clint and myself. And so if you are curious if Built Bars are really protein bars that taste like candy bars, let me tell you definitively, as someone who has eaten many of them, yes, they are. They are, in fact, protein bars that taste just like candy bars. They are high in protein, high in fiber, low in sugar, keto approved, good for whatever meal plan or replacement strategy you have. Throw some in your glove box, throw some in your gym bag, throw some in your desk drawer at work. Built Bar is a great alternative snack for whenever you need a boost. Go to BuiltBar.com right now. Enter the promo code LOCKEDON15. You'll get 15% off your entire order at BuiltBar.com, entering the promo code LOCKEDON15. All right, Clint. Daniel Jeremiah has frustrated you so much that you've refused to say his name correctly one time this entire show.
Not one time. If longtime listeners of the pod will understand and know that I refuse to say certain people's names on this podcast because it upsets me so much.
That's accurate. We might need to do a second cathartic dumping now that we've won the national championship, Clint. Is that in order? Where we revisit the cathartic dumping and we just exercise all the demons. We may do it. We may get on here.
I'm going to get a hanky. I'm going to be waving it all over the place. Yeah. That needs to happen, Daniel.
Won't he do it? Won't he do it?
Okay.
Let's talk about most notable omissions. Now we're talking about, again, this is not every player who will be drafted. This is top 50 NFL draft picks. You understand this is the most elite football players in the world is who we're talking about right now. Okay. So to be omitted from this list is not an egregious thing, right? It does not mean that you're not going to go on to have a lucrative and successful NFL career.
That's right.
Okay. So there are many Georgia Bulldogs not present on this list. There are people like Zamir White and James Cook not present on this list. I expect both of them to be drafted, and I think both of them could have stellar NFL careers. There are people on this list like Jamari Sawyer, Clint, who I think should and will have a great NFL career, does not make the top 50. I'm not mad about any of these. I'm going to ask you, who's the one that upsets you the most that you don't see his name here on our boy David Jeremiah's top 50 list?
There is one I'm mad about, but not as mad because there's an easy out for him to take, and we're going to get to that. It's a very, very, very easy out, tape and time and injury. There's another name on this list that has only done everything you want from an inside linebacker, who could do literally everything in the world, who if you were to come down and ask me, hey, Clint, you can only have Nakobe Dean or Channing Tindall and Quay Walker. You get both of them. Who's going to have a better career? I'm choosing these two over Nakobe because Channing Tindall is a freak upon freak upon freaks upon freaks. Guys, the closing speed that is required in the NFL. Nakobe has it. Don't even get started. I love Nakobe. He's one of my favorite inside linebackers. Channing Tindall's heat-seeking missile ability matches at minimum Nakobe, if not supersedes it. His ability to see ball and track ball down is unmatched in my opinion. Now, I see him as explosive.
We were perched right up there in the corner of Lucas Oil Stadium, Clint.
That's right, we were.
And we were looking right down the line. And Bryce Young had rolled out to his right, Clint. Won't he do it?
Won't he do it?
Channing Tindall just said, "Not today, Satan." That's what he said. That's what I guarantee you those are the words coming out of his mouth. And he just got upfield. You talk about closing speed, Clint, and that's immediately what flashes into my mind.
I don't know how he does. Channing Tindall has a better chance than Lewis Cine, has a better chance than Devonte Wyatt, has a better chance than Quay going in the first round. Come Combine, how about this? Come talk to me after Combine. You want to talk about Combine and Devonte Wyatt? Go check out that clock on Channing Tindall because it's going to be eye-catching.
You want to talk about a player comp, Clint? How about this player comp? I think there's a chance. I'm not saying it's likely. I think there's a chance when all is said and done, Channing Tindall could be another Khalil Mack. I think that's who this guy could be. You want to talk about a guy that can just flat get after it.
Yep.
Like the ball is snapped and he's on his way to the quarterback and there ain't nothing that you're going to do about it. Right?
Nope.
Tell me why that can't be Channing Tindall.
I can't.
I'll wait.
No, I can't.
Now listen, Channing Tindall's not the one that upsets me the most. Because the one that upsets me the most is the most talented player on Georgia's football team last year.
And by the way, there is no doubt about this. Come at
by
us if you
want. Wide margin.
Correct.
A wide margin. The most talented player on Georgia's football team. He did not play in very many games, but the games that he played in, he showed you exactly who he was. There are a couple plays from that game that will always stand out. One is James Cook's run. Okay, that was a monster play in that game. We could not move the ball, and James Cook just said, "I'll do it. Give me the ball, I'll do it." But when Jorge went out and he dove and he caught that ball and he wheeled it in, listen, this is the most talented player that Georgia has in this draft. Somebody's taking this guy in the first round. And if they don't, then somebody in the early second round is going to get a steal. But I promise you this. When pick 50 rolls around, Mr. Jeremiah, Jorge Pickens' name ain't going to be on that board. Like, he will be gone. He will be long gone by the time the 50th pick rolls around. I would bet anything on it.
Do you realize, y'all, when we talk about a kid who didn't play a lot of games this year, coming off an ACL injury, only playing the later half of the season, not even half, the later quarter of the season, suiting up even, and really only playing in one game, and he goes and declares for the NFL draft. Do you know why he's declaring for the NFL draft? This is not a Trenton Thompson situation where he's not going to get drafted. This is because everybody in the world
P's and P's, by the way.
Thompson. This is because everybody in the world has told him, hey, George, you're going to be a millionaire the day you sign this. Like, y'all, this kid might end up being the best wide receiver in the entire daggum league in 3 years.
He's got the frame. He's got the speed. Yep. He's got the physicality. He's got the hands. Listen, I mean, all you want about those Ohio State wide receivers. But there's not one of them, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, there's not one of those guys that even remotely resembles physically what George Pickens is.
No, sir.
Facts. So you tell me what kind of player that the NFL likes at wide receiver, and George can do it all. He will be gone in the first 50 picks. Overall, should be a fun season leading up to the NFL draft. Lots of Georgia Bulldogs could go. Perhaps some that we haven't even mentioned could sneak their way up into the early rounds. It's going to be fun. It's fun to see these guys get paid on all of their hard work. Clint and I will be back tomorrow, Tuesday, March the 1st, back talking about some recruits from the 2022 class, prospects, and giving out some more player comps. You're going to want to come back for it here on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll see you.
See ya.